Well, hello everybody. I just wanted to make this video because, well, I didn't find one on YouTube, so I figured I'd just make one myself. So what you're staring at here is the center console for a BMW Z4. That would be the E8586 chassis, built, I believe it's 2003, 2004 to 2009. This is from a Roadster, so it's a convertible model. I'm not 100% sure whether the same part is in the coupe, but I don't really have a coupe, so I don't really know. Feel free to comment if it does work for both models. So this is actually what this thing is called, because I had to look it up. It's called an oddments box, which is kind of a strange name, but it's BMW, so what do you expect? So I went to a number of different threads, forums, and things to try and find some information on this part, because after about 3 or 4 years of ownership, I noticed a small crack right here. It's much bigger now, forming on one side after about 4 years. Another couple years, a crack starts forming on this side. It's like, well, that's really not bothering me. You don't really see it. So I said, well, why should I fix it? It's probably God knows how much money. Probably take half the car apart. So I left it as is, and then this breaks. One side broke, but it still works. I said, that's so fine. Then finally, one morning, hit it, fell off. So this is obviously the new part. This is what the old one looks like because, well, you see, it just kind of broke. So I said, well, I'm going to have to dig into this thing. So I dug into it. And I found a couple different online people, some threads that kind of went nowhere. People had these issues, and there was no really good answer per se. There's one video about changing out the DVD navigation system that lives in here. It has most of this assembly here. It's done by a mechanic. It's actually pretty good. He actually has it in the car, so you can kind of see how things fit together. Unfortunately, I didn't start at the disassembly point because I wasn't 100% sure I was going to, be able to do it myself. So we will talk about disassembly, and I'll show you kind of where you want to look. And then once I get through putting it back together, I'll show you what it looks like completed. So good news is this part is only about $450 if you have a standard interior. Some of the cars have extended leather. That's actually, this thing is all leather wrapped, so it's like $1,200. So that's kind of expensive. But for the rest of us, which is most of us, about $450. This piece is about $69, $70 between FCP Euro, ECS Tuning, or some of the bigger dealerships. That's about the going rate for these setup. So we'll talk about this assembly. So really what you have to do is you need a number of different tools. My suggestion, anytime when you're working interior, have some of these plastic pries. You can also use a flathead screwdriver and probably tape it so you don't damage too much of it. Mind you, this thing's going to go in the trash, so if you damage it, take it out, it's not the end of the world. You just don't want to damage anything you're putting back in. So you start with the bottom here. This is where the SOS machine lives. You pop it out. It just sits in there, so you can pop it out with that. It's got a little clip that you can pop out where it powers it. I also noticed there's a guy online who actually found they make a storage box that this goes in. So you can actually, if you remove this completely, you don't like it because over the years the thing gets a little scuzzy. See that? With the sun, it's not particularly the most aesthetically pleasing. So they make a storage bin that fits right in there. You can just pop that in and out and remove this completely if you don't like, having this thing, which is kind of useless unless you have the whatever it came with. Okay, so that being gone, the first thing you'll take off are the two side screws. Now you have to get both of your seats up to get to it, but down here you'll see a little hole for a screw. I'm not sure if the focus is going to get that. I'll put a little light on it here. See that? Yep. And when you pop that off, you'll find this. Alright? And underneath that is an Allen head. Phillips head, actually, screw, which is easy to come out. One each side, bam, bam, that's easy. Then you will need to open up the door, and there is a set of screws right underneath here. You can't really see them very well, but they're there. Let's see if we can get a light on there for you. That look good. You see that? Okay. And when those come out, they look kind of like this. Basically, it is a Phillips head screw and seated in like kind of a plastic seat. Now, when I pulled mine out, it's supposed to come out as one piece, but I pulled mine out, I just got the screw out. So I believe these do not come with the new oddments box, so you make sure you save both pieces. I pulled mine out, it was just a screw, then I had to work in there and pull these pieces out because it won't really work very well without it, because that's how it seats into this piece. When that gets released, you're able to pull on this cover. It pulls up and out, and don't be surprised if one of these things breaks off when you do it. See how that's how mine came off? Yeah. Well, it's okay, don't worry, because it's not going back, so yeah, that'll break probably, but it's not the end of the world. That's happens a lot of this old plastic stuff, is especially sun-beaten stuff, it will break, so not the end of the world. And then when you release that, you'll have this empty pocket, which I believe is where some of the European models had a manual convertible versus a powered convertible. And you'll see there's two screws here and here. And when you pop those out, you'll find that they're actually a star bolt. I believe it's a 30. I can't remember what how star bolts are kind of designed, but yeah. That's a star bolt, and that actually hooks in the metal, so that pops out pretty easy. These are pretty on there pretty tight, so just, you notice there's a little, sticky silicone stuff in there to keep them in tight, so that goes in the metal, so pop those out. So that's all pretty straightforward, and most of the video that I was using originally said, oh, you just take it out now. And it's like, actually, you can't take it out because there are more screws in this setup. And what you'll find is down here, these two holes are a pair of star screws. And they're actually a different size than the other one. So this is bigger, this is smaller. So you'll need a whole set of star. If you don't have a set of star screw heads or whatever they're called, I would suggest getting them, because at some point you're going to need them. Okay, so in order to get to that, you got to get the door out. Because the door, thankfully the door is one of the few things you do get to keep and do not need to buy a new one. The door pops open like so, and it's hooked in right here to these items. You see how they're built? Let me see if I can get the focus to work here. Just half this video is probably going to be out of focus, that's okay. You see that? So you basically yank it out. I would suggest doing that early on, because I think that the looser this gets, the easier it is to take this out. And these basically have little pieces that they only have one way they can fit in there, but they do rotate. This one probably rotates a little bit better. But you'll see when you get them out that there's only one way they're going to fit in. So you pull this out because you're going to reuse this later. Well, that'll reveal in this little area this piece, which is basically slots in there like, let's see, I think it's like this. See that? So you got to pry this up, and it'll release the last two screws. After those last two screws are out, then you can remove the whole piece, and it comes off pretty light. Yeah. So if you guys are having the issues with the cracks here, because I know a lot of people are, that's how you get this piece out. I'm going to reinstall it basically in reverse order. You also will notice there is power. There's a couple points of power. There's a piece that hooks in right here, and then I don't know where it goes to because I wasn't really paying attention. But and there's a few more. There's basically, I believe, 3 things you have to unplug. Just anytime you release a component, you just see if it's attached to anything. Then they all have quick tab releases, so you just take those off. Yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys. It's been helpful for me learning how to do this, because I know it's a common complaint, and with some of the BMW stuff, the interiors can be an absolute pain if you're going to try to do it yourself. Considering the part's not that expensive, I would probably suggest doing it because the aesthetics is really good for it. And if you have a convertible, people are going to see this, and then if you get self-conscious and all that crap. But yeah, so I'm going to put it back together probably later today, but I wanted to shoot a quick video to explain the mystery of the oddments box. So I hope you guys enjoy this, and I'll probably add a little bit more to this video once I do the install, but we'll see.